Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And there is no question that the pace of innovation on today's advanced technology vehicles is approaching the speed of light. And there is probably nobody better to take us through that and understanding the opportunities for our dealers than Chris Chesney, who is the Vice President of Training and Development for REPAIRIFY. Chris, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. It's great to be back. Looking forward to a conversation about hyper profits.
And you know what? I think hyper profit needs to be the focus. Exactly, Chris. There's so much happening right now in our industry, and a lot of talk about, as there has been for a while, about the technician shortages and now supply chain issues throughout the industry. And that's probably not going to slow down anytime soon. So, Chris, or should I say Obi-Wan Chesney, from a training and technology perspective, how can service departments stay on top of their game?
Well, Ted, the goal of every service department, every collision shop in the country should be profit. At the end of the day, we don't do this as a philanthropic process. Some of us might feel that way some days, but at the end of the day, we're trying to make profit. And the enabler of profit is process. If you don't have good processes in place, your profit opportunities are leaking out the door. When you open the door in the morning, you have a certain amount of time and available time with your technicians to make that profit. And if you're not maximizing that, you're not efficient. So it takes process to do that. But the enabler of process is service readiness. And service readiness, as we spoke about the last time we were here, is really those basics of talent, your people, making sure they're skilled and trained and always ready to be able to service the technology that comes in the door before they arrive. It's that service information that they have to have access to, but more importantly, they have to be efficient with it. They have to be skilled with service information. You can't learn how to navigate the service information system when you get a vehicle in the bay and you're trying to solve a problem. That's not the time to go wondering, where is this information located? Where is this ADAS process located? You should know that up front. It should be a tool. You don't open your toolbox drawer up trying to find a screwdriver and open every drawer up to find the screwdriver you're looking for. You know exactly where it's at. And so you need to have the same skill set with service information. You need to have the right tools. You need to have the quality parts available to you to solve the problem. And at the end of the day, you need tech support. So you can't know everything. You can't solve every problem. So you've got to have that help support system in place. So at the end of the day, you can't activate your process unless you're ready. And it's that service readiness thing that's the foundation of profit at the end of the day.
You did speak to us about that service readiness, and that resonated, I think, with our audience and certainly with me. Chris, what would you say is the key to success in terms of the technician training, and from their perspective, how can they become proficient quickly and stay that way as well?
Ted, it's not a quick process. Making sure that you are constantly investing in your team and your people with respect to a training program is critical. So it's that commitment that you make to your entire organization. It's not just your technicians. It's the people that are in front of your customers. It's the people that are doing the estimating. It's the people that are researching and finding parts. It's the people that are washing the car at the end of the service or repair. It's the people that are delivering the vehicle to the customer. So, but it's an investment and a commitment in that process and training program that holds everybody accountable. So you can't just stand up a training process or a training program, and the dealers have access to the best training, the gold standard, the factory training, and you make that available to them, but you can't expect it to work and make your team ready to generate profit if you don't hold them accountable to attending it and performing based on what they learned there. So in the dealer environment, you take advantage of that training that the factory provides for you as a minimum bar.
Okay.
The key to what I see from an outside person looking in, and I grew up in the dealer environment, and now I've been in the aftermarket for the last 40 years. I see the dealers settling for factory training. And don't get me wrong, factory training is what we use in the aftermarket to establish as that foundation. But you need to find and participate in industry training programs that enable your team to carry out that process that you've designed. And I'm not going to get into designing the process here. We'll talk a little bit about it. But if your team is just held accountable to what the factory provides, that's a minimum bar. Find that other training that expands their skills, expands their horizons when it comes to the resources available to them, and they'll see things from a different perspective, and they'll make themselves more efficient. So let me give you an example to that.
Okay.
A good process at a collision center should include a pre-scan of all the modules on the vehicle before you start doing any estimation, right? We want to know what that computer or those computers on board, and there are many modules on board that an all module scan is going to access and get a report from during an all module scan. And we want to know what's there before we try to estimate. The standard that I see in the industry today is that a pre-scan is something that I'm being asked to do to cover the carrier's risk and not to provide me as a shop owner or as a service manager a profit opportunity. And it is the biggest profit opportunity you have in a collision event or a collision process, because at the front end of the process, before you tear the vehicle down, before you disassemble, before you dig deeper, if you will analyze the pre-scan results, and that takes a technician with skill, that takes a technician that's been trained, and many times that takes a technician that's gone to training outside of the factory training, but a technician with the skill to analyze that data and to provide that initial diagnostic test or two that will uncover the profit opportunities in your initial estimate in a collision center before you make that final estimate and decision of total loss or partial loss, that you make those decisions with a tremendous amount of knowledge and not waste time if this car is going to be a total loss because I discover at the front end that it's going to end up there, or better yet, it's a partial loss, and I find those profit opportunities, such as replacing controllers or modules that are going to require an initialization or a reprogramming or an activation event, that you can charge for, that the carrier will pay for. And it's that fight that you end up with at the end of a collision repair cycle that ends up with supplemental estimates that you can be dinged for, or you end up with being charged for that because you weren't prepared for it or you didn't identify it at the front end. So we're trying to keep you out of that fight and provide visibility of what those profit opportunities are at the front end so you don't fight. Fighting takes time, right, Ted?
A lot of time.
If you've got to fight with the carrier and argue with the carrier and make your case, that cycle time is being expanded, and you're going to get penalized at the end of the day for that cycle time if you're not right up front.
Chris, it's been said that in the next 5 to 10 years, our business is going to evolve probably greater than it ever has in the past. And so there's so many things that are rapidly changing. And, from the REPAIRIFY view, because you do so much for our industry, how do you see process evolving and changing? Because I would think that given all the innovation that's out there, that's going to be something that is going to be happening as well.
Ted, it seems like I've spent the last 40 years warning the industry that things are going to change more dramatically in the next 5 years than they have in the last 20. And it's true today. And it's really the complexity of the vehicle that's driving these changes in process. The vehicle is equipped with so much technology today that it's really outgrown the processes that we've used in the past. And what I see from my perspective is service centers, collision centers still using the processes that they've always used over the last 10, 15 years. And the complexity of the vehicles surpassed that. So today's vehicles really require you to perform a high level of triage at the front end before you start your estimate or before you start your dispatch, before you even dispatch the vehicle to a tech. You need to have a triage process that allows you to dispatch it to the proper skill set, because every tech is not skilled exactly the same. You may have master tech levels or senior tech levels within your organization, but even within those categories, each master tech has a different unique skill set and experience level. And understanding what that is and matching that to the vehicle and the complexity of that vehicle and the problem that you're seeing up front is really critical. So your process needs to include that.
Okay.
What happens is the failure to triage properly results in those missed opportunities, which may at times cause an unpleasant discovery after the repairs are made. And you have to go back to the carrier with another supplemental estimate, or the customer's already picked the vehicle up and they come back and say, the light on my outside mirror on the right side doesn't react to a car coming up on my blind spot until the car's in front of me, whereas the car on the left side or my light on the left side reacts when it's back where I can't see it. Something's not right. And you don't want that to happen because you get penalized for that, both from a profit standpoint, a relationship with the carrier, but more importantly, a relationship with the motorist.
Yeah, yeah. And we're in a whole new world, Chris, with all these things that are now in play. Talk to us about the importance of service information and why that's critical for the technician to review it on a regular or frequent basis.
Well, service information has always been important, right? But I can remember, and now I'm aging myself, so I can remember in the days that I started, I memorized the specifications that I needed and the service information I needed to work on the cars in my bay at the dealership. So today that's not possible. We have thousands, millions, tens of millions of pages of information to access to be able to service these vehicles. So the process is, the legacy process has really discouraged the use of service information. Flat rate incents a technician to skip researching a problem and instead rely on their intuition and their experience to come to a conclusion. And you can't count on that today. Number one, there's too much to know. Number two, things are so complex today that a car may be built with systems, safety systems, ADAS systems, even other electronic systems where multiple suppliers are used to build that vehicle. And when suppliers are changed in the middle of the assembly process due to the supply chain issues that we're having today, this is commonplace. Those changes are made along the assembly line and they're VIN specific. And so an example would be when a service information changes so often on ADAS systems that our recommendation in our ADAS training tells the tech to review and research the calibration process for that vehicle every time. Even if you just calibrated yesterday 2 of those vehicles of the same year, make, and model, read it again. Because service information is changing rapidly, it's changing daily, and sometimes it's changing hourly. And we've seen it week after week after week. So the other thing that I'll leave you with on service information is what I'm famous for, is read that doggone manual. I've preached this for 50 years. The service information is your friend. Don't be thinking that you're going to look stupid because you have to look at the manual. That's old thinking. That's process that doesn't take into account the complexity of the vehicle and the significance that service information plays in the repair and service of those vehicles.
Chris, let's talk a little bit about the talent technician shortage, if you will, in our industry. What do you think is the key to solving that challenge that we've been facing now for several years?
Well, there's so much work being done in the industry and by associations and groups like Tech Force Foundation and others, as well as the dealer groups and the OEMs, all have projects, and a lot of those are siloed. And I think some of the challenge is getting those groups together to kind of share what they're working on, so there's not so much duplication of effort. And we've tried that multiple times in the industry. It's difficult to get everybody to come to the table. And when they do come to the table, it's difficult to get them to let go of some of the things they're doing and share it with somebody else so that they can take on another element of that work that needs to be done. There's also the idea that we need to grow our own. And I fully believe that every dealership, every collision center, every aftermarket shop in the industry needs to take on the challenge of growing their own talent. And that means partnering with your post-secondary and secondary school programs that may or may not be in your area. Become an advisor to those advisory councils, get involved with them, but not once a year with their one advisory meeting that they have to hold every year to go in and have a slice of pizza and listen to the complaints of the instructor or the staff, but more importantly, support them with equipment and tools and visits to your dealership and shadowing events and those types of things. But the key thing that I think that we're missing in solving the technician problem is making our industry a destination industry. Young people don't want a job. And everybody's sitting here going, yeah, right, we can't get people to go to work. Well, we're missing the point. Young people want a future. They don't want a job, which means they don't necessarily want to come to work for you as a technician, for example, and their whole career. And it's that question that I ask many times at large events. With a show of hands, I'll ask how many technicians have had this thought in the last 6 months. Is this it? Is this all there is to my career? And they all hold their hand up. And the visual is these people want more from their career than to move from a C tech to a B tech. They may want to be a shop foreman. They may want to be a service manager or a parts manager. But we have to ask, and we have to create those career paths for them so they can see it when they come to work for us. So they recognize that Ted's dealership is going to offer me an opportunity to get in on the ground floor, but I have the opportunity to become the manager or the fixed ops director, whatever that case may be or opportunity may be. And that's the key to drawing into our industry, is to show them that there's a future. It's just not another job.
You're right. We've heard that on so many technician panels here at the Roundtable that the technicians tell us this in a lot of those conversations. Okay, quick, before we wrap up today, I wanted to take this opportunity and play a quick game with you. I'm going to give you a couple quotes from Star Wars movies, and I want you to tell me and tell our audience who you think said them. Give us the movie character first, and then see if you can identify where we might hear those same quotes, Chris Chesney, in the fixed ops world. Okay, first one. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Oh, that's Han Solo many times, probably every movie.
Pretty good.
But in reality, that's every service manager when a new service process comes into place or a new technology is rolled out or a new special tool comes in the door.
Yes, I can relate. Okay, next one. Chris, it's a trap.
Oh, my favorite character, Admiral Akbar. So, but in the same vein, every service manager who gets a new service process that comes into play. So it's the same thing. I got a bad feeling about this, and it's a trap.
Pretty good. You're 2 for 2 so far. Okay, one more, Chris, and see if you can extend that. Last one. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. At the end of the day, that really relates to process. You don't make profit because you're lucky. You make profit because you have a process and you have a team that's ready to enable that process. How'd I do?
Pretty good, Obi-Wan Chesney. I like that a lot. I think you did great. 3 for 3. Chris, if our audience wants to reach out to you for more information on REPAIRIFY, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Ted, the best way is repairify.com, where we have a lot of information about our products, our services to the dealer community. And you can always email me at chris.chesney@repairify.com.
All right. Chris Chesney here today, Obi-Wan Chesney from REPAIRIFY. Chris, thank you so much on behalf of the Fixed Ops community.
Thanks, Ted. It was my pleasure.